Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League of Europe YouTube channel for round 5 of Division 3 Season 6. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentalus. I'll be taking you through proceedings in Division 3 as per usual. And joining me once again in the commentary box after a week's absence, he's back this week. It is Killer Blue, otherwise known as Jake. Jake, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well, thank you. As you say, wasn't here last week. Pleasure to be back. Sorry to leave you flying solo, but if Silverstone last week did show anything to get straight into things, I think it showed that we're set up for a two-horse race for this title. It's looking like, isn't it? A 1-2 for Brendan and Tin Can in Red Bull and Ferrari, and they've really taken a hold of the top of this championship. Tin Can with a win and 2 second places, 2 wins for Brendan, and a costly mistake at Spain, without which it could have been 3. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's set up very nicely. Hopefully it stays dry, because if it's wet, I'm not sure we'll see too much on-track action. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely looks like it's going to be an exciting race, this one, as per the rest of the season. Like you say, those two, Tin Can and Brendan, in terms of speed as well as racecraft, have been pretty much inseparable all season long, so it'll be great to see them continue that battle out. Let's talk you through the standings just a little bit beyond the top 2. Of course, Tin Can in the lead, an 11-point lead to his name over Brendan. Third in the championship is the second Ferrari of Luke 05. For the first time this season, didn't finish on the podium in Silverstone, didn't have the best of race, got held up in the pits, which is why he didn't quite finish where he wanted to. Just behind him is Chill. Chill started off the season really well with 2 podiums, and then since Spain has happened, it's just not gone his way. A DNF in Spain, not the pace he needed in Silverstone, and unfortunately, by the looks of it, will not be able to attend tonight, so he's just dropping further and further back. J. Cole is in 5th ahead of Raleigh JT. Brent in 7th, White YY is in 8th, Funky Chick in 9th, and Black Poma rounds off the top 10. Just behind Black Poma is Cobalt, who now is a full-time driver now. He's racing in the Alfa Romeo in place of Ramus, who can no longer attend every week. Carwin, Rob, Calvin, and Rakurik and other names as well. They're all fairly close to being inside the top 10. So looking at the standings that we have so far, we've obviously spoken about who's done a pretty good job. Is there anyone, I think there's one that we can both agree on, but is there anyone to you that stands out as being out of position so far?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll come back to, as you say, the obvious one. I wouldn't say there's anyone out of position. I think, actually, perhaps Brent. I think Brent has overachieved perhaps a little so far compared to his 1-lap pace. 2 4th-place finishes at Spain and Britain, and I know Spain, he sort of snuck his way through that quite stealthily, just avoiding all the various shenanigans. I think that was 9 cars that finished that race. So I'd say he's out of position, but I'd say even to say that is to do a disservice to him, because he's clearly done very well to outperform his 1-lap pace to get those results. But yeah, as you say, there is one who stands out, and that is, of course, Carwin Rob. And well, there's much we can say about him, but yeah, was it 6th place finish at Bahrain, 1 point at USA, a DNF at Spain when he crashed out in the lead under the safety car, and a 8th place at United Kingdom when he had, I think I'm right in saying, he led that race across the line.
Yes, yeah, he did. He did do that race across the line, and unfortunately picked up 2 penalties later on in the race, which cost him the victory in the end. And that was all after a poor start, where he dropped down to 4th place in the early phases, worked his way back into the lead, and still lost the lead because of penalties. Yeah, it's just not been the start of the season Carwin Rob would have wanted. He's been on the front row in every race so far this season. 4 races, 4 front row starts. So possible that he could be on the front row again this time around. It's just not coming together for him in the races at the moment. He's got the speed, the racecraft isn't quite there. Maybe another one as well, obviously hasn't attended all of the races so far this season, but another one maybe that stands out is Calvin. Obviously Calvin moved up into this championship with his Red Bull teammate Forza Brendan. They both moved up from D4 into D3, and you've got to say, so far, even at the races where Calvin has attended, Brendan has outperformed Calvin.
Absolutely. I mean, USA is the big one there. Calvin failed to score while Brendan took a dominant victory, and Calvin was with Rob and Brendan in the early stages of that race, and then they had a costly race that just put him towards the back of the field and didn't end up scoring any points when he had shown great promise. So yeah, he's definitely one, along with Rob, who needs to pull his socks up a little bit and kick on, because we're only 4 races in, but it's a 17 race season. will be a third of the way through this time next week, more or less. So he does need to kick on. These guys, they're going to find themselves out of a title battle if they had any ideas or plans on it, if they don't push on. So yeah, a big week needed for Rob and for Kelvin.
Yeah, and if there was ever a week where a big week can happen, it's definitely this track. Of course, Singapore, famous for being a race of attrition in the past. Of course, it is the longest race in real life Formula 1, and it will be in league racing as well. 31 laps around a track that is on average around a 1 minute 39 lap in race pace. So it is going to be a long one here tonight. And of course, one thing we've got to note going into qualifying is that this is probably going to be a very truncated qualifying session. We're going to see a lot of different tyre strategies in this session, aren't we?
Yeah, I think if anyone's coming out now, if they have any clue on the strategy, they're going to come out and do a slow or an invalid lap on softs or no lap at all, and then come straight back in. I think we're going to see the majority of people go for 2 laps on mediums, as you say, heavily truncated. There's no incentive really to push on those softs and try and get a quick lap in, because when it gets into the race itself, you'll find they last 1-2 laps maximum before they're being swallowed up by medium runners, and not long after that by hard runners. So yeah, I think we can expect to see a very slow start to the session, but when it gets going, I'm sure it's going to be very tense, because they say only one on set of mediums, so they're going to have to nail it first time, and if they have to go for a second run, that's going to put extra wear on those tyres. So big quali session ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Even beyond the soft compound tyres not being the best race tyre, the medium tyres do tend to wear out quite quickly as well. We're going to see a lot of people possibly pitting before lap 10 if they start on the medium compound tyres. It's going to be a real mix of strategies. First driver out onto the track is Cobalt in the Alfa Romeo. The only Alfa Romeo, there is the other Alfa Romeo attending here tonight. Both Alfa Romeos are here. It's just one Alpine and one Aston Martin here tonight. Cobalt in his first full-time race this season. Just a word on Cobalt as well. He's only raced twice this season, but both times he's shown really good speed. So you've got to say, in his first full-time drive, he's got to be someone to look out for the rest of the season, to maybe pick up a few podiums, possibly a win here and there.
Absolutely. I mean, we were saying before we went on air, at Spain he had tremendous pace, but was very unlucky lap 1. He got spun around, but still recovered to 6th place. He has a bit of a slide there coming out of the penultimate corner. But I was going to say, he's going for a brave strategy here. He's ignoring any hint of track evolution. He's going straight out on the mediums, which is a very interesting call. I thought people would be going out doing a slow lap on softs and then saving the mediums for the end when the track is at its best. And there's Tiago right in the apex of turn 3, and he's had to abort straight away. Not what he needed. Not when these mediums are so precious, because they only get one set.
Yeah, that is exactly not what he didn't need. So that is his first one already over and done with, which means the first person on a representative time is going to be Funky Chicken, that's right on board with the Aston Martin man through a full lap around the Singapore circuit. Of course, before Saudi Arabia is in the game, this is the track with the most amount of corners of any on the circuit. It's coming down towards the end of the first sector, down through Raffles Boulevard and into turn number 7, probably the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit. Through turn 8 then, another 90-degree corner into another 90-degree corner that tightens up a little bit as you get to the apex. Missed the tyre barrier on the right-hand side, and then down towards the Singapore Sing, what was once a very iconic triple chicane, now just a very normal left-hander, into the reprofiled Anderson Bridge section, which was reprofiled about 4 years ago, keeping well away from the curb on the inside there, and then into the hairpin and onto the second of 3 DRS straights we have on this track, although DRS not really that powerful around this circuit. To the end of the second sector and down towards turn 14, it's a 102.6 through the second sector, not quite where you would expect the soft compound tyre times to be, but we're expecting Funky Chicken is not pushing too hard on these tyres into the final sector. This is where the soft tyres really take a pounding. Even in qualifying, you can start to overheat the tyres big time in this final sector. There's no straights for these tyres to get a rest, and there you go, big understeer there through that corner and into the wall on the outside. Just gets away with it as he heads through turn 21, 22 and 23 to finish off the lap. 2 very fast corners, make sure you don't lose the rear of the car, and there you go, Funky Chicken backing off before we get to the line, as we did expect, and it's a big back off. It's only a 37.5. You could have expected that lap time to be about 4 seconds faster without that. So that's the first time on the board, but it is not representative. We'll keep an eye on who else is on the lap at the moment. I think Carwin Robb is on a lap in the Alpine. He's already gone for the medium compound tyres. I think one of the Williams cars is coming around. That's Raleigh JT, just starting his first time in the session. So Carwin Robb should be the next person to finish a lap in this session is coming through the middle sector. He has invalidated his time, though, interestingly, on the medium compound tyres and then has backed off. So that's 2 drivers already that have gone out on a set of mediums and invalidated their tyres. YHYY does a 34.6 on the softs. That's a bit more representative. Carwin Robb around to the line, only a 35.1 on the mediums, and it's invalid. So already the man that's been on the front row at every race so far this season, another one that's crucially gone out and blown their medium tyres.
I think every lap we're seeing so far is, to put it nicely, a lap for the cameras. No one really wants to go very quickly, do they? I mean, that was some extreme slowing down by Funky Chicken. It's hard to tell with Carwin Robb, though, whether he was actually going for a lap there. You say it was a 35, it was very slow. Didn't look like he backed off too much after he invalidated. I did ride on board with him. He just took too much inside curb down at the tricky turn 16-17 chicane, and that sent the minimap red. But we've had a couple more laps. Calvin a 35.6, 36.3 for Ecosmats. So again, just laps for show, really. No one out there, as potentially as we expected, has any intention of setting a competitive time.
Yeah, a number of people invalidating in the final part of the lap just to make sure that they're not setting the times. Tiago, one of those, J. Cole, Harry Nawag as well, just invalidated in the middle part of the lap to make sure he didn't set the time. So only, well, we're 6 minutes into the session and we've only got 5 times on the board, but that's exactly what we are expecting. Brent is currently on a lap, so is Forza Brendan, but Forza Brendan has already backed off on his run, so he's not continuing on those soft compound tyres. He does go 4th on a 36.2, obviously not representative at all from him, so we'll see a bit more from him later on. Brent looks like he is pushing on his lap, so that's why with the AlphaTauri man, like you said earlier on, 2 4th place finishes in the last 2 rounds, on a bit of a run at the moment, currently 8th in the drivers' standings, looking to jump up a bit higher in the standings at the moment, but all big understeer there, coming through turn 19, nearly runs straight into the wall, gets away with it though through the final part of the lap. You can tell those front tyres are crying a lot, a big amount of understeer, loses the rear of the car and then backs off before the final corner, so that's another one that's backed off before the line. It looked like a pretty solid lap up until that point, and it's again only a 37.7 from the AlphaTauri man, as Black Homer on his second lap on the mediums, only a 35.8. That is his representative time on the mediums done, and you've got to say a 35.8 is nowhere near competitive enough to be inside the top 10 later on.
Absolutely not. I wonder if anyone is using the mediums for their slow laps and is just going to go for 1 lap on the softs at the end. I'm not sure why you'd do that. If that is Black Poma's pace, I think he's in for a rough evening, to be honest with you. He's some 2 seconds off what I'd expect pole to be on the mediums, if indeed it is on the mediums. You reckon anyone here is going to fancy their shot at glory in their 15 minutes of 1 lap of fame at the start of the race and go for the softs? I mean, there's for someone who's not normally at the front of the grid, there is a great big pole position waiting for someone if they want to take it and they want to sacrifice potentially their race for it, but it could work out as well. But I can't see anyone doing that, but can you?
I think it's definitely possible. I think if they think they're only going to qualify maybe towards the back of the field, if they do a time on the mediums, they may as well try something different and get themselves at the front and maybe capitalise on an early safety car. If that does happen, it can happen, and you can come in for the hard compound tyres pretty early on and possibly get them to the end. So we might see a few. I think I'm looking at one of them right now that might try that, and that is Cobalt. He's gone again on the soft compound tyres. He's obviously went out on the mediums first. Obviously he hasn't done an actual full speed lap on the mediums, so they're not really going to have too much wear on them. He can come out on them again at the end of the session, but he's chose to go on the softs for the time being. I think we look out maybe as well for maybe the Haas cars to be at the front of the field on the soft compound tyres. I think YHYY has set his intention out. It's Cobalt there, completely missing turn 14 and turn 13, sorry, and just understeering straight into the wall. So whether he was going for a lap or not, this lap is also not going to be representative for the Alfa Romeo driver.
Oh, that was Michael Schumacher at Monaco levels of, oh no, I made a mistake. Oh, what a shame, he has to abandon the lap. I think he's going to go back out. And look at that, he's deliberately trying to damage his car there. Well, that's what it looked like. He completely turned straight left into the wall at the kink of turn 15. But yeah, I think he's very much committed to those mediums. I think he's married to that idea, as most of them seem to be. Carwin Robb's out on a set of softs though, and he's already used the mediums. So as Peter Gillis is invalid, Tin Can invalid on the softs. Noah's having a big slide on the mediums. I don't think anyone is really on a hot lap right now, but Carwin Robb on the softs, that's the one to look out for, I think.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do on that compounded tyres. Noah coming through the middle sector at the moment. 26.2 for the first sector is not too bad, but yeah, you can see there, rear of the car kind of all over the place at the moment for the Williams man, who's not had the start to the season that he would have wanted. He's had great speed. He showed it in pre-season when he was running up at the front with the likes of Brendan and the likes of myself actually as well. Obviously, when I was in the preseason races for Division 3, not quite come together in the season so far. So far, he's really been outshone by Raleigh, whose pace is up, and he has kept that very common known good strategy of his and good racecraft that he always has. He's always at the front of the field, keeping out of trouble, and Noah's not quite able to do the same. He's coming to the end of his lap. He's not invalidated as of yet, so we'll see if he continues on around the final corner then and up towards the line. He cuts into turn 22 and up towards the line. He doesn't back off. It's a 35.2 on the mediums. He goes third fastest, but I still don't think that's going to be enough to be inside the top 10. If it is, it's going to be very close to the bottom end of the top 10 if he holds that time. Carwin Robb on the softs is pushing on. He's not invalidated so far, going around at the moment looking to maybe get to the front of the field. We'll ride with the Alpine man, but again, Noah on those medium tyres, still in the 35s. No one's been able to get in the 34s yet on the mediums.
I think YH will be starting to sweat a bit if he thought he was just doing a slow lap to so he had something on the board so he didn't start last, because he could end up with the top 10 at that time if people go out for mediums and invalidate. Robb's still not backing off on this lap. For 102.1 through the middle sector, that will put him on for a very high 33. I think at the moment, I think he's got more speed than that, so I think it is quite a slow lap. And there we go, invalid again, as he went before on the inside of turn 17. But yeah, there's a big risk here for anyone who's not set a valid lap, which currently is 9 drivers from Tin Can down to J. Cole. You know, you set yourself up for that one lap on mediums, you invalidate, you're starting last, and J. Cole tried to do the same thing at Spain and ended up starting on the back row. It's not something I would advise to have no lap on there, but that is the way for 9 of the guys right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a risk. At least some of these drivers, like I say, have got some sort of banker lap time in at the moment. YHRY coming around the final corner now. He's invalidated big time on the inside there of turn 22. That was a massive cut, so not surprised that that is invalidated. But he is still currently on provisional pole position. We've got more drivers out there. His Haas teammate Tiag is on a lap at the moment at 102.7 in the middle sector. That's still not fast enough even on the soft compound tyres at the moment. That's going to be close to a high 34 if he continues on with this lap. Harry Nawag is another one who is on a lap at the moment in the final sector just behind him on the road, and there you go, big slide at the rear of the car there from Teal coming out of turn 19. Those tyres looking cooked by the end of the lap as he does come around the final corner and no, dives straight into the pit lane at the last moment, so not continuing on with that lap time. He's still down in 16th. Harry Nawag is going to continue with his time. He comes up to the line and he backs off right before the line, and it's a 34.8, still backed off quite heavily, and they're still on the front row of the grid. So even with the drivers that are backing off, they're not backing off enough at this point to maybe secure themselves somewhere outside the top 10 if that's what they want, or if they want to improve on their medium compound tyres. The first of those that you would expect to be going for the medium compound tyres run that is out on the track at the moment is Funky Chicken. He's coming through the first in the middle sector, but he's already made a mistake on this run.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Carwin Robb. He's going for it, you know, on softs here. He's gone for a second lap on the softs. Is he invalidate? He's not invalidating.
Wow.
That's the second lap on that set of softs. He's done a 33.5. I don't think he's going to beat that on mediums. So, we said it's someone going to go for it on softs. Carwin Robb has, and that's going to be very interesting come the race.
Yeah, that is a really interesting prospect. Like you said, the soft tyres only really last a lap and a half in the race, so if that's the case, then he's only going to last half a lap on that set of soft compound tyres. That is a bold strategy. He's currently on provisional pole by 1.1 seconds. His only strat now is really to go out on another set of softs that are fresher and try and improve. J. Cole's coming around to the end of his lap on the medium compound tyres. This is going to be the first representative medium lap that we will see in this session. Needs a recovery after a poor race in Silverstone, and he goes onto the front row with a 34.5 on the medium compound tyres. Not bad, but still maybe not the fastest we're going to see tonight, but still with over 5 people still yet to set a time in this session. It's good that he's at the front of the field. Tin Can is on a run on the mediums as well. He's coming towards the end of his lap. We're expecting him to be right at the front of the field, but based on his time at the moment in the first 2 sectors, he's matching J. Cole, so it's not quite the pace that we were expecting out of Tin Can. Nice and neat through turn 21 and into the final 2 corners. Has he nailed this final sector up towards the line? He crosses the line, and it's only a 34.7 on the medium compound tyres from Tin Can. That's close to a second off maybe where we were expecting him to be, and J. Cole then 2/10 clear of our championship leader on the same tyre.
That was a poor final sector from Tin Can. You could see how much he was driving within himself through the last corner. Didn't use hardly any of the track, didn't try and cut the inside curb. He just looked like he was trying to get a valid lap in, and that is of course the compromise you make by not setting a lap early on. You're forced to compromise a little bit on your first medium lap if indeed you want to do 2. because you've got to restrain yourself a little bit so you don't risk invalidating because you don't have that time on the board. And well, just looking at that leaderboard now, if people are going to go invalid, YHYY, Harry Nawag, you know, people who set ish laps on softs, I think they're in a real chance of finding themselves starting inside the top 10 here.
Yeah, definitely looks like that might be the case. It's going to be a real struggle for some of those guys as well. Cobalt is going to be the next one on the medium compound tyres, and he again is matching J. Cole and Tin Can in the middle part of the lap at 102.6. That kind of seems to be the pace at the moment through the first two sectors. J. Cole's had the better of the last sector of the two representative medium laps we've seen so far. What can Cobalt do? He's not looking as aggressive on the curbs as we've seen some others. He's more aggressive through 22 though, and up towards the line, but again an even slower final sector from Cobalt compared to Tin Can and J. Cole, nearly half a second slower than J. Cole in that final sector, either suggesting that J. Cole has got that final sector massively hooked up, or he's saving his medium tyres a bit, just a little bit on the outlap and in the first few sectors, and it's really paying dividends in the final part of the lap.
I think we're just seeing scruffy final sector, to be honest with you. I think he's just one of the few that has hooked it up, and I'll tell you what, I am very worried about where our championship leader Tin Can's going to end up. He's not left himself enough time to set a medium lap, come in and go straight back out again. He's not going to get back out in time to do another lap. That is his qualifying done. He's on a 34.7, only the one lap on mediums. And as we get a mini stampede out of the pits for the final runs, I think, yeah, our top 5, I think, are under threat. I don't think any of them, apart from Carbon Rob, are going to improve. And Tin Can especially, I'm shocked at. I thought he'd have some much more pace than that, but at 34.7, he's run out of time to come back out of the pit, so we've got a spin from IFR Noah on the exit of turn 5 there. But yeah, I think that's Tin Can's lot. He's not going to improve. He's going to find himself sliding down the order, I think.
Yeah, not where he would want to be. We're still yet to see the best from his rival, Forza Brendan, at the moment. Only 11th on the grid. He's left it quite late to come back out onto the track for his next one. Luco 5 is going to be the next one to complete a run. Been on the podium twice already this season. A race winner in Spain. What can he do as he comes up towards the line? 34.8 goes behind his teammate, but ahead of Cobalt. So that's another one right near one another. He's just a 10th ahead of the Alfa Romeo, but still behind. Tin Can retires in the pit lane as expected. He can't get back out onto the track to do another run. Neither can Black Poma, so he's only going to be 11th on the grid at best. Dari as well is also in the pits. Both McLarens not leaving enough time. I think Peter Gillis has invalidated both of his runs on the medium, so he's not going to get a single lap in this session at all done. Tiog is on a lap now on the medium compound tyres. He's coming towards the end of his lap, so we'll see what the Haasman can do. No time on the board as of yet as he comes through the final two corners. Big slide on the way into turn 22. It's not fast enough. It's only 11th on the grid, a 35.6 from the Haasman, but still waiting for some more representative times. Calvin is flying in the Red Bull. That's a good middle sector from him. As across the line, I think that might have been one of the Williams cars across the line. I think that was Raleigh just coming around to start a lap on the soft compound tyres. Interestingly enough, Harry Nawag next to start his run. Calvin to the line, and that's a 34.5. He goes just behind J. Cole, who's still with that really strong final sector, is right at the front of this field. Next across the line, Forza Brendan starting his final run, so that is going to be it. J. Cole, I don't think is going to make it to the line. It's going to be very close actually to him making it, but it's going to go again on the same set of medium compound tyres, interestingly. So while he still has a good place on the grid, he's going again on the same set of tyres, and that could hamper him later on in the race.
I don't think it will too much. The mediums do hold together until, as you say, about lap 10 earlier on. Calvin had a very scruffy final sector. Again, I don't think J. Cole necessarily nailed it. I think it was just a case that no one else is really hooking up. They're just making a lot of mistakes. Forza Brendan on his lap looks like he's just driving to get a valid lap in. He's not on the ragged edge as you'd expect people to be, and I wonder how many people are actually going to improve here. Funky Chicken only 8th at 34.9. I've seen him do 33s on the mediums in practice. No one is keeping their bottle here. Everyone is losing their nerve.
Yeah, both AlphaTauris have made mistakes on their laps. Brent spinning at the end. Timax has invalidated, so both Alfa Romeos out of position, only 15th and 16th on the grid at the moment. Tiaga's doing another run on the medium tyres and improves only slightly and stays in 12th place, so that's not been an improvement for him. Raleigh JT is on the soft compound tyres. He comes up towards the line and is 5th on the soft compound tyres. Harry Nawag will be next across the line. He's on the mediums. He did back off on his run, but he didn't improve on the medium compound tyres, so he will start the race on the softs. Carwin Robb, I think, will be next across the line. Can he improve on his time? He can by half a tenth of a second, so he'll start the race on fresher tyres. tyres. Across the line, there comes Calvin to finish. Forza Brendan, sorry, crosses the line. I don't think Forza Brendan improved any, or whether the time's not registered on our end. I can't see where that time is. The timing for him, it seems a little bit off, so I'm not quite sure if he's desynced for everybody else. His timing seems a little bit off, but we're just waiting for his time to pop on the board. We'll wait and see. But like you said earlier on, it didn't look like he was pushing all that hard.
No, I think a lot of people were victim to that. They didn't have the confidence to throw the car at it because they didn't have the competitive lap times on the board. They put all the pressure on the final run, and yes, it's a preferable strategy, but unless you've got the nerve to pull it off, it's tremendous pressure to put on yourself to save everything for that final lap. And I think we've seen it there with Harry Nawag, with Tin Can. Funky Chicken shocked me. Cobalt went invalid on his last lap as well, I believe, quite early on. It's I'm astounded that as many people as we've seen didn't end up improving, and it's a really weird session that we've seen. Only one person in the 33s. I thought we'd see a few there, but I'm intrigued if Forza Brendan actually is in 16th, because if he is, well, Tin Can won't be feeling so bad about his qualifying.
No, I think he's just popped into P7 by the looks of things there, but I do think he might be desynced for everybody else. His time popped in when he was coming through Sector 3, so I'm not sure if he's quite right in the lobby there. But there you go, that's the end of qualifying. And Karin Robb, yet again, is on pole position, but in very different circumstances. 8/10 of a second clear of YHYY. Our two drivers on the front row on the soft compound tyres. J. Cole third on the mediums, but remember, he put in another lap on the same set of tyres. Calvin is in fourth on fresher medium compound tyres than him. It's an all-medium second row off the grid. Raleigh in fifth on the soft compound tyres ahead of our two championship leaders, Tin Can and Brendan, 6th and 7th on the grid on their medium compound tyres. Harry Nawag only 8th on the softs. He wasn't able to improve on his medium run in the end, so that's not what he wanted at all. Luco 5 is 9th on the mediums, and Funky Chicken rounds off the top 10 on the mediums as well. Everyone outside the top 10, remember, gets free choice of tyres, and that is Cobalt, Noah, Tiog, Black Poma, Matt, Brent, Peter Gillis and Dary, the last two there, not setting a time in the session, so they weren't able to get a time on the board in the end. A really truncated session with a really weird finishing order, and you've got to say the two people sitting pretty at the moment are J. Cole and Calvin.
Absolutely, and the person I feel shockingly sorry for is Harry Nawag. He thought that lap was slow enough that it would take him off the back row but not put him in the top 10, and it was in the end very costly. He didn't have as much speed on the mediums as he thought he did, or he must have made some kind of mistake. But if J. Cole is the big winner there, along with Calvin, Harry Nawag is the gigantic loser. He's starting in the middle of the pack on a tyre that won't do one lap, because remember, what they won't have had in practice is we've now got the formation lap, which will put a couple of % on the tyres as well. So an awful situation as Brendan disconnects, and might that cause some kind of starting glitch? We saw he was desynced with his timing, so he must be having some kind of connection issue. But if he can't get back in, he won't be able to get back into his car until after the lights go out. I think if he tries beforehand, he'll cause us to need a restart. So very unfortunate for him, but very good for Tin Can, who's alongside him on the grid.
Yeah, it really helps out, obviously, that his championship rival. That is a real shame for Forza Brendan that he does have that problem. Hopefully he is able to get back in, and like you say, is in control of his car once the lights go out, so we don't have any lobby problems. We'll wait and see. We're just waiting now for the grid to get ready and start their formation lap then. And now we get a chance to see what those outside of the top 10 will be doing on their tyres. Obviously, starting on the hards could help you later on, but you've got to keep an eye out for early safety cars, as well as the fact that the hard tyres in the opening 3 or 4 laps of the race are very difficult to get on top of.
Yeah, absolutely. They are awful to start with, but once they come into their element, they are a very usable tyre. We've only got 2 on the hards, Noah and Black Poma, but you know you're in for a good race when you've got all 3 tyres represented on the starting grid. We've got 4 on the softs, 2 on the hards, and 12 on the mediums. So if you start on hards, as you say, that you're at a risk of falling victim to an early safety car, but in that case I would say perhaps you could pit and go medium, or just gain track position if anyone ahead of you pits and go medium, because if anyone does pit for hards on lap 1, they might go to the end, but they are going to feel shocking for the majority of that time, I should imagine, and obviously they're not going to have any advantage over the people who stay out more than a lap anyway. So it's an interesting blend of strategies you're going to see. I think the quickest one, as you say, is start mediums, pit lap 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe as far as 12 if you keep them in play well, and then run hards to the end. Hards, run them for about 18 laps and then switch to the mediums for perhaps a slightly longer medium stint than the medium starters would have. If he's starting on softs, I don't know what to say to you. I personally think that's a lost cause, but God help them. But I think they will really, really struggle. They could try two-stopping, pit lap 1, pit lap 2, and go medium or medium hard, but effectively you're just taking a 25-second penalty for the sake of starting further up and getting some more stream time. So Rob, YHYY, Raleigh, Harry Nawag, they need safety cars to help them. They are nothing's going to go their way without a safety car.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for them. Of course, pitting so early for the hard compound tyres, if they choose to do so, means that the hard still won't be in the right window really at the start of this race, and those that are on the medium tyres can technically overcut them because they will still have the pace on the medium compound tyres. So that's going to be really difficult for the soft runners. What is crucial for Rob and YHYY on this opening lap is a crazy first lap really. They need the people behind them to run into problems on this opening lap so that they can build a gap. Carwin Rob though, 0.8 of a second ahead of YHYY in qualifying on the same set of tyres. So I fear for YHYY here that he could get swamped by the pack. Before we get ready though for the start of this race, Jake, who was your prediction for race winner?
I'm going to say Brendan from P7 on the grid if he gets back into his car. If not, I'm going to say J. Cole. He's missed out on the podium a couple of times this season, but I think this is his day.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm keeping my eye on the other Red Bull of Calvin. I think he could be the one to look out for here this evening, but we'll wait and see how this one pans out. Everyone is lining up into their grid spot. Hopefully we don't have any lobby glitches for the people that have rejoined the lobby. That is Tim Mats, I believe. That's one of those that rejoined the lobby on the formation app. I don't know about Brendan, unfortunately, but it does look like we may be stuck on the grid, which is a little bit of a shame if that is the case, sadly. So we'll give it a few seconds to wait for the lights to come on, but by the looks of it, because of some people joining back in the formation app, I don't think that's the case.
If we get a restart, that will be beautiful for Carwin, Rob YHYY and Harry Nawag and Raleigh, just to have an extra lap to play with on the softs. Might not seem like much, but I'm sure it'll be very helpful come later in the race. The other good thing Carwin Rob needs is he needs YHYY to have good pace off the line, because Rob's got YHYY as a stopgap between him and those medium runners behind, so if YHYY wasn't there, I think Carwin Rob would really struggle to get any kind of breakaway. He needs YHYY there, so it's a bit of a stopgap to prevent J. Cole and Calvin making much progress. But as you say, it looks like we're having a restart, and that does play ever so slightly, I would say, into the soft runners' hands. It definitely plays into J. Cole's hands. You mentioned a couple of times him doing an extra lap on those mediums, but yeah, so it plays into the hands of the top three, I think.
Yeah, definitely does play into those hands, like you say. We'll wait and see how that one is going to pan out. I think we should be getting a lobby restart. If we do get this race underway, then these tyres are going to be stone dead cold at the start of this race, which is not going to help those on the hard compound tyres at all. But I don't think we are going to be getting this lobby underway anytime soon. So just time to fill the gap really and look through the rest of the field. The hard tyre runners then, Noah and Black Poma, the ones in 12th and 14th place, so they're going to be the ones going long in this one. Tim Mats has left the lobby, so we'll wait and see if anybody else. I think we are going to be getting a full restart, so there we go. We're going to be getting a restart to the lobby. So there we are. So we've got a bit of time to wait. So we'll talk about obviously those on the hard compound tyres first, them doing something a little bit different in this lobby then. Noah and Black Poma, they've had good race pace at other races. They've not necessarily shown it in qualifying here. Starting on the hards though, they need a clean race. If they have any problems, the opening 5 laps will get held up in any sort of way. Their strategy is pretty much out of the window, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. They just need to dive out of anyone's way, make the best of the situation they can